Welcome to Sisters Connect, a podcast that celebrates the amazing sister friends that I admire and who keep me inspired. I'm your host, Kimberly Sumter.
My name is Dara Kalima. I am a poet and author known as the community poet. I am an author who writes about her community, whether that's being a woman, whether that's being Black, whether that's just being from the Bronx. I define sisterhood as just being about that unity and bond and that connection that only we can understand because we have a very specific plight. And so we see each other, honor each other, support each other, praise each other, lift each other up. And that's sisterhood.
Thank you so much, Dara. I grabbed a copy of her book, Still Laughing, at last year's Sisters in Business Expo, but you can get your copy at darakalima.com. I want to thank you for joining me for episode number 60 of the Sisters Connect podcast. Today I'll be talking to another sister friend from the Bronx, Aurelia Michael. She's a life coach and an image consultant whose passion is to help people in the entertainment industry to gain and sustain confidence. She's also a voiceover actor and the founder of Voice on Demand. That's a company dedicated to connecting, supporting, and uplifting BIPOC voiceover artists and the voiceover community. Today we're going to talk about her background and how she got started as a performer, and she also dropped so many valuable jewels today and left me feeling so inspired, and I know that you're going to feel the same. You can find Aurelia online at aureliamichaelliving.com or ourvoiceondemand.com. Now it's time to connect. Hey, Aurelia.
Hey, Kim.
What is the thing that makes you get up and just say, yes, I'm just living and breathing for this?
Funny enough, it's not the thing that I make money doing. I love the gym. To me, it's my second church. I talk to God there. I get clarity there. I don't like to really go with people. I have one friend out here that I go with because we have a good time, but on the days she can't make it, I really just enjoy my me time, peace and quiet. I love pushing myself, pushing my body to the limit. Bodybuilding has definitely changed my life. It's changed my perspective on health, on aging, on beauty, on wisdom, on so many things.
You look so young. I know I am not the only person who said that to you. I won't be the last. You really defy your age. You really do.
Thank you. Yeah, a lot of times people ask me, like, when's your prom? I'm like, ooh, in 2003. Well, as we talked about, like, I've always seen age as beauty and wisdom. I don't believe in the whole time clock and a woman after a certain age is not as valuable anymore. I think those things can start to tear us down. I do get my gallon in a day, absolutely, to keep the skin nice and clear and as elastic as possible. I don't do drama. I don't have friendships where like we got issues. I don't do family issues. I don't subscribe to anybody's issues. That's not the magazine I need. So I think a lot of times people can just see it as just a food and a fitness thing in general, but it's health on the inside that tells the outside how to appear. To me, life is like a spades game, right? You can't choose your hand, but you can always choose your partner. And so I'm really strategic about who my partners are, even who are my opponents. I'm strategic about everybody at the table, right? They're going to show up anyway. I'm strategic about that as well. And I think it's important also what you said, yes, and that is also people who love themselves. I don't need a cheerleader that's not in the game. I need you to be my teammate. I don't just need you in the stand. So I'm not looking for a yes man, a yes woman, yes person to just blow my head up. I need someone that's also going to say, hey, didn't you say you was going to do this? What happened with this? That also push me, test me.
I want to talk about the fact that you were from the Bronx. Tell me what it was like growing up there and how did you get into the arts?
So I grew up in Co-op City, born and raised 17 years, which is kind of its own little community that you have to take like a bus to get to the trains to get to school. And I'm an only child. So my parents put me in ice skating, cheerleading, gymnastics, youth choir, anything they could get their hands on to keep me active while I was in the community, which I think was super important. I danced at the Dance Theater of Harlem. I got terrible grades. I was late all the time. I just didn't have the physical body of a ballerina, a stereotypical ballerina, nor the
Mhm.
discipline because I was involved in so many things. And so
Mhm.
I did that all the way up. I was ice skater as well for 12 years. And then as soon as I got to college, even though we had an ice rink down the street, I got rid of those. And then I started cheerleading in high school. And then my first year of college, I got dropped from the team. And as what I thought was revenge, I was like, I'm going to start my own team. So I started a dance team. And I thought it would
Mhm.
last maybe a year, 2 years. That was in 2004. So now they're going into their 17th year of existence. They made it through the pandemic somehow. So
Mhm.
when I finally graduated, I wanted to get into dance more full time. I gained a lot of leadership as the founder of Dynamic, and I learned a lot through the dance program. So I was supposed to stay in Maryland for 2 years. I was at University of Maryland. I stayed 1 year, then I moved back to New York to pursue commercial dance. I joined a program. I got an agent all within like 6 months. And then I booked a job, my first theater job in 2011, which was Legally Blonde. And that's when I was like, oh, I'm hot. Can't
Mhm.
nobody tell me nothing. When this show's over, I'm going to book every Legally Blonde. And like 2 years went by and I didn't book anything. And I got dropped from my
Mhm.
agency, spent a lot of bitter time in New York, said, forget this, I'm moving to LA. Came to LA, floated for 2 years. And God woke me up one morning and was like, let's try musical theater. And I was like, what? He's like, you love to sing, you love to dance, and you act a fool, so you might as well. So I moved forward, not back. I moved forward to my parents' house at 31. And it wasn't a matter of if, but when. And I bust my behind for 8 months, hopping on that bus from Jersey to New York every day,
Mhm.
auditioning, sometimes being there for 5, 6 hours to find out I wasn't going to get seen. And I really believed in that radical manifestation of, I'm already on Broadway. I'm just waiting for y'all to figure
Mhm.
out what show. And I had 8 months of 40 no's. I got one yes for a regional show,
Mhm.
did that show, had one day off, which was the day before my birthday. And I started my Broadway contract on my birthday.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. And for you to get so many no's before you got that yes, I know that has to be pretty tough on your self-esteem. What kept you going?
Well, I realized that I only needed one yes. What
Mm.
I've realized as an artist and a creative is that I don't need everyone to like me. I just need a select few to love me. And that's all you
Mm.
really need. Even in the voiceover world, I don't need 1,000 casting directors to love me. I could literally just have one person who just keeps, that happened to me today. Someone said, you didn't even audition for this, but because of the work you've done before, and they just want to hire you already. And that's the
Wow.
kind of thing that I held on to. And for me, it really wasn't a matter of if, it was just when. And some of them were no's, some of them were hell no's. I auditioned for things 5, 6 callbacks. But when I look back, if I had booked some of those jobs, I wouldn't have been around for the audition for the Broadway show. So now I'm just a living testimony of like, you might not understand why there's a no at the moment, but it will always come to light. And man's rejection is God's protection. So I was being protected from something, and I had to really believe that yes was coming.
Hearing no a lot makes you question whether or not you're actually good enough. How do
Right.
you get to that mindset? Is it something you develop over time?
Well, this is definitely at chapter 36, right? But I spent 10 years, particularly in the commercial hip hop world, trying to be other people. And I think I just got to a point where I got burned out. I was exhausted of doing the imposter syndrome of trying to be other people. And it's almost like when you hit the bottom, there's only one way from there, is up. And so when I started to kind of sit back and recognize my dope, recognize where was I not being valued, it was easy for me to strip myself away from the things that were comfortable and dive into this growth zone. And so for me, anything that I do, and that included Broadway, I create two whys. One why for myself and one why beyond me. And it's the same thing I do with my clients. So my why for Broadway, for me, it had nothing to do with Broadway. My actual goal was for the first time in life to focus on one thing. I had never done that before my entire life. And then I just happened to say, well, what's going to be that thing? And it was
Mhm.
Broadway. But the bigger why was that I wanted every Black and brown girl from the Bronx to know you didn't have to kick your face, because my legs don't do that. You don't have to sing like Cynthia Erivo, because I don't have that range. And you don't have to be the next Viola Davis. You can be the next you. And that you could
Mm.
still get in the door of what takes people 8 years in 8 months. And so that's what woke me up every morning when my why wasn't big enough. Like, I don't care about doing one thing. I'm going back to sleep. That why is what woke me up. And so that's the same thing I apply to every single thing. And when I can't find that why, I pivot.
What advice would you give to someone who is deciding that, you know what, I want to reinvent myself and try the thing that I never got the opportunity to try before, or I didn't have the confidence to do before?
I would start right from the top. There's no such thing as starting from scratch. Everything that we do, every person we encounter, every experience we have, everything we ingest is not wasted, it is stored. So every time you were on the radio, you were voiceover acting. Every single time you were putting your voice to someone else's words or even to your own words. You've been doing this. So I think starting from scratch is this kind of idea that if I pivot the title, that means I'm doing something new. If someone wants to go into dancing and they've been dancing, they're not starting from scratch. Unless you have literally never moved to a song before, you're not starting from scratch. It's almost like you have some antique stuff you haven't used in a while and we're repurposing it. We're just dusting it off. We're putting it in a specific place now. We're clearer about what we want to do with it. And then I would say definitely to, no matter what it is, to hire some type of coach, somebody who doesn't have a stake in your life, because the people in your life who play safe will tell you to play safe. Do you think you can really make money as a voiceover, as a photographer, any type of creative? Do you really think you can? Because people assume that because you go to school for law, you go to school to become a doctor, that you're going to have a lot of money. And if you do anything else, you're going to be a starving artist, which is complete bull. Starving as an artist to me is a choice. And that's often from people trying to survive from the beginning solely off their art. And that's an ego thing. So we have to kind of tell our ego to take a back seat and allow our imagination to come back in front, right? So when you think about little kids, when they go to jump off a couch, they don't look down and they jump, either land successfully, go do it again, or they bump their head, say, okay, what could I do better? And go do it. As adults, we climb up, we look down, we start analyzing, and then you jump out of fear and not out of faith. And that's how you hurt yourself. And that would happen to me in cheerleading. The reason I had a hard time doing back handsprings was not the technique. It was the courage. And my coach would like pretend he'd have my arm, not pretend he had his arm out, and I would do it. But when I knew he wasn't helping, I'd freeze and then the body reacted. So I think sometimes we can overanalyze and underact. We have to take steps. So I think with a coach, what you do in your life doesn't have a stake in mine. Whatever you decide is not going to affect how I wake up in the morning. So I'm going to give you the most unbiased opinion I can. And anything you say you want to do, you want to make shoelaces, you want to make hay, whatever you want to do, I'm going to be the person in your corner that's always going to say yes and. Sure, why not? Let's also do this. And then also having an accountability partner, particularly with any type of art that requires you to be alone. You have to have someone around you. My best friend TJ and I meet every single Sunday since 2 weeks before the pandemic. We have not missed a week. It just reminds me throughout the week, did I get the things done that I said I was going to do? Let me go back to that. So I'm always encouraging people to have a support system, to know that you're not starting from scratch, and of course, to develop your whys. I am a person who wants everyone that encounters me to gain and sustain unconditional confidence. I just happen to do that through my labels, my titles. But you want someone who's matching your ambition. Because what happens is, I talk a lot about friendships. If we're at a mountain, right? Most of our friendships, for most people, at least that I encounter on the coaching side, are either horizontal friendships, people who are in the same stage. They may be 50, they may be looking to pivot, or people who are vertically down people that you're pulling up, that you're helping out, that can't necessarily do much for you, but you're a mentor to them, you're a financial giver to them. But most of us don't have vertically up people, the people who we can't really do much for, but that they can actually help us. And I just had a great conversation with someone the other day about real estate. And I totally felt like I was reaching up because that was so out of my league. So if we can find ourselves having more vertical up friendships than just horizontal and down, it's going to be easier to get up the mountain. Because if all my friends are in the same boat, we're all holding hands, how are we going to get up? I need someone that's lifting me up, someone that's lifting them up, someone that's lifting them up, and someone who's lifting them up and telling us how beautiful the view is. I'll never know how beautiful it is if we're all standing at the bottom.
There's so much to think about. I mean, some of the things that you've said just really hit home for me. And I'm just having a moment because you've said so much. I can't even explain it, but there's something very special about you.
Thank you. My ego has set aside to recognize is that God is going to put me on the highest of platforms so that people can stand on my shoulders. I may never see it, but I'm going to help somebody who's going to see it and experience it. So I've recognized that I am a vessel and I am here to coach. It can be in anything. I am here to get to the highest of highs so that people can go even further. This is we season.
Where do you want to see yourself in 10 years?
Professionally, as a coach, right now I have 3 coaches underneath me. My goal has always been to have 15. I just like that number. Right now, I have all life coaches in different aspects, intimacy, communications, healing shame. But I'd love to bring in home organizers. I'd love to bring in more image consultants. I want AML to be a home. I also want AML University to work with high school kids. I want AML Academy to work with junior high school kids. I want my own nonprofit to teach kids that you don't have to go the conventional route. And that doesn't mean don't go to college. That means being a makeup artist, being a photographer, being a stylist is a reputable job. Let me show you people I know from the industry who are doing it and making more money than your uncle who's in debt, $250,000, $300,000 from school. They're making a lot, but they're spending a lot. So for me on the AML side, that's what I would love. I also want to travel the world working with women in the bodybuilding industry to love who they are inside and out, no matter the phase. Now that I've been through almost one full phase of my bodybuilding year, there's a lot of things that I'm learning, and I'm surrounded by women who have body image challenges. And this is almost the worst thing to join when you have that. But if you're already here, I want to be the person that can walk alongside with you. And I want to travel the world doing seminars and posing sessions and helping women see that it is so far beyond. We can actually use this to help those challenges, or for the women that just want more confidence. So I want to travel the world doing that for sure. And then with voiceover, I'd love to voice over some movies. I'd love to be the national voice of a company like Lena Waite's AT&T. More for your thing, that's our thing. That would be a complete dream, you know?
Yes. We are putting that out in the universe. We're putting it all out and sprinkling it out because that's going to happen. Okay.
And on a personal, of course, being married successfully for 10 years through all the trials and tribulations to come. Have some little ones, maybe 2. How they come into this earth, they may already be here. I don't know. I'm leaving that up to him. I'm not stressed. When I say I'm not stressed about it, more people are stressed than I am. They're like, so when you guys? We're not worried about that right now. It's going to happen how it happens, you know? And I see us eventually having something together. He's a photographer, videographer, and model. So us having some type of event space or company where we can bring all of our resources together.
So would you say right now that you are living your best life?
Oh my goodness. I wake up every morning feeling like I'm on vacation. Like I get really confused sometimes on why people pay me to do what I do. And then they hit a milestone and I'm like, oh, or I have my life coach help me hit a milestone and I'm like, oh, this is why. And so a lot of times people are like, you don't like to travel? You don't like to go on vacation? I'm like, this is a life I never want to leave. So even when I travel, I'm like, I'll be in the room. You guys go hang out. Like, to me, this life is an adventure. I get to talk to people every single day, like you. I get to talk to beautiful people inside and out, see light bulbs go off, light bulbs in me go off. I'm like, oh my gosh, how long have people been telling me to get a podcast? And here she goes, just like, hey, I got this podcast. And I'm like, I could learn something from her. You know, I get to experience this every day. To me, there's nothing I haven't done already. So God forbid if it's my time, minus getting married, at least give me to what I've done. Everything. I've danced for the artists I wanted to dance for. I've created the business. It's lasted 10 years. I get to work from home. my reputation, which to me, reputation over resume always. I live a life where if someone were to talk bad about me to someone, they probably wouldn't believe it, because I'm just not interested in that. That's just not how I roll. And for me, though my resume in the dance world didn't change much, the reputation is still following me. If it gets better than this, I mean, I'm just spoiled. I really am an only child. I'm spoiled. If it gets better.
That's awesome. Well, I know you have something that you want to give away today. So tell me a little bit about that, because I want to share the love.
Yes, I had a few things I thought about. So I have a book called 15 Minutes of Fame, which stands for Faithfully Advancing Myself Every Day. It's a 30-day workbook, similar to coaching with me, but I wanted to offer something to people like paper form, and I get it. I love old school paper. So this is a chance for you to take some of the assignments that I give my clients and be able to do those on your own. And so I am offering a 10% discount to anyone who wants to purchase that book. All they have to do is either reach out to us on social media at Aurelia Michael Living, or DM us, or you can email us at aml@aureliamichael.com, which I know you can put up as well. And then for coaching, so most recently we've started back up opening up our one-on-one coaching. We have 2 programs. We have a VIP program. So I call that the fast track, where we meet 3 times a month. And then we have our general one-on-one sessions where we meet 1 time a month. And I would love to offer a 10% discount on the package for anyone that is interested. And I also offer a free consultation just to chat with me. It could be about image consulting. It can be about life coaching. It can be about voiceover, whatever it is. I want to be able to connect with people and help them live their best life the way I'm feeling every morning. I want every day to feel like a vacation.
I love it. So I just have one more question for you. You have so many things on your resume, but if you were to, I won't say one word because that's really hard. If you were to pick 3 words that truly describe who you are, extracting the titles, so you have one, how would you describe yourself?
Indispensable.
And why that?
There's no one on earth like me. There's no one on earth like you too. But I think I spent so many years focusing on the things that made me dispensable and trying to change myself to fit in when I was clearly born to stand out. And I don't try to stand out, because then you look like you're wearing a costume, literally or figuratively speaking. I just am. And I humbly embrace that he made me all that in a bag of chips, so that I could be a mirror reflection for everyone else to know that they're all that in a bag of chips. And that on anyone's best day, I could never be them. And on their best day, they could never be me. And to lean into that, not be ashamed to say that. Own your dope. Find it, hone it, own it. There it is.
Hey sis, thank you so much for being a part of today's conversation. If you want to get more information on today's guest or our previous guests, make sure you visit our website at sistersconnect.com. Until next time, see you soon. Bye.